Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Once again, it is Sovereign Saturday. Be a leader, not a follower. Now, this is very important. Now, understand when I say leader, this ain't saying you gotta be like this great leader speaking in front of millions or something. You could be a leader just in your own life, being able to lead yourself. In fact, you might not even be a speaker. You know what? One of the greatest speakers, leaders that I've ever met was a guy back in college. And he didn't speak that much. He didn't talk that much, but he led by example. See, understand something. We need more leaders out here. And as a sovereign man or even a sovereign woman, you need to be a leader, particularly a sovereign man. You need to be the leader in your home. You need to be the person that is running towards the fire when it's happening. You need to take charge. You need to set an example just by how you walk. Now, I've told the story a couple of times when I was in college, and there was a young man who was working in the cafeteria. And looking back, he might have been on the spectrum. But I didn't say much. I talked to him a little bit, but he said, I always see you reading books and everything. I always see you reading books. So he started reading books. So I was a leader to him just because of what I was doing. Now, let me be clear. I know plenty of you support me, but I don't want followers. I want supporters, because you can still support somebody and still be a leader. But what your main place is not on these 10-minute videos or anybody else's videos. It's in your life. You need to be taking the lead in doing the work that you're doing, whether you're working in a business, whether you're working for somebody. You're not following behind somebody. You're not walking behind somebody. And I'm going to be real, even though I've expanded the whole sovereign idea to include women, one of the things that I've had trouble with is when I see a man walking behind a woman. And this ain't anything against a woman. I don't know anything about her. But that means he's not being a leader. Because a leader is not, like in the realm of relationships, a leader isn't a dictator. A leader is, one, a protector. One, that leader is looking for the path ahead. When I see a man walking behind a woman, he's not being a leader. He's not being a protector. He's following behind her. He's a follower. See, a true leader is going to be beside her and still leading, or a little bit ahead of her, protecting the way. Now, I know some people would say, well, he's behind her to protect her. No, that's just a cope right there. No. And also on a job, is a leader taking advantage of what's going on. If you're on a job, are you taking charge of whatever your work is? And in fact, finding more work. That's a leader. And then definitely if you own a business, you have that business, you're a leader. And the other week I was talking about on being the, controlling your, you have a tiny nation. You're the leader of that tiny nation. Your household, are you taking the lead in your household? Are you deciding how that household's going to be? And this is even if you have a lady in there. Like I said, you're not a dictator, you're still listening, but at the same time, women looking for that man who is going to look ahead. Are you being protective? Are you saying, oh no, we can't live in this area, this is going to be too tough? That's a leader. And then even without saying anything, like I said earlier, in college, there was this man, he was on one of the sports teams, and he was a team captain. He was on the track team, team captain, but he was a leader. He didn't talk that much, but how he carried himself. People followed him. See, a leader, first of all, leads himself. A true leader is not looking for someone to follow. A leader is leading himself, even if he don't have a group of people. He's leading himself. He's taking charge of himself first and foremost. He's not casually following anyone. Because you have too many people out here who follow someone, and that person might not be good for them, or that idea might not be good for them. Or as I say on my Deep Thought channel, the theys might not be good for him. No, he has to decide. And even if he adopts something, even if he supports something, like people support me, it's only because you decided. I don't look for followers. I look for supporters. And I look for supporters who are deciding to support. As a leader, you can just decide to support a particular project or a particular leader or something like that. But it's your decision. I'm not forcing you. I'm not holding a gun to you. And that's talking about with me. That's with anything. You want to be a leader. At the very least, you want to lead in whatever space that you're in. When I started talking about being a sovereign man at first, I wasn't talking about I've had a couple people thinking I'm talking about this whole sovereign citizen movement or something. I'm not talking anything about that. I'm talking about having control over your life. Control over your life. Control over what you can control and leverage where you can't control, because nobody, not even a billionaire, has 100% control. But you can control how you dress. You can control how you take care of yourself. You can control the things that you're going to do in your life. And ultimately, that's a leader. Because if you're a follower, how are you sovereign? If you're following what somebody else is doing, how are you sovereign? Like I've mentioned several times, there have been people men who would come back to me and say, well, Uncle Rom, I'm going to be just like you. I'm trying to talk like you or something. I checked them. I said, no, you be yourself. You're not me. You have to lead yourself. And that's the main thing. And like I said earlier, it's not about being that public speaker or something. Sometimes a public speaker isn't really a leader. So you get some of these public speakers, they making money and all of that, and they have a big following, but they really following somebody else. How are they a leader? A true leader is going to stay on their purpose. A true leader is going to stand their ground. A true leader is going to do the things that they need to do to make their lives better. A true leader is going to see that path ahead. Let me end on that. If you have a family, especially if you have a family, not just you, but a family, you have a wife, you have children, you being a leader, but not in terms of being a dictator. You seeing ahead, you seeing the problems ahead. You seeing the path ahead, you leading the path, you cutting through the grass and everything. And they following you. Because, man, I've talked with many women. A lot of women don't want to deal with a lot of men because these men aren't leading. These men don't have anything to stand on. As a man, that's what you want. You want to be a leader, not a follower. Okay? I want you to think about that. So that's all I have for today. Today. Keep rising to become the sovereign man that you are meant to be. Peace and blessings.